Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is the third webinar in the three-part series for lean management under the LOLA Landscape Ontario Labor Assessment Project funded by OMAFRA. I'm Janine West, and I'll just introduce the two videos that we're watching today. This is a compilation of two case studies, one from JLPN in Oregon and one from Van Belle Nurseries in BC. So with no further ado, I'll just jump right in and transfer over to the next portion of the video. So please enjoy the first portion, which is JLPN from Oregon.
Our lean journey began 5-6 years ago when one of my customers, Chris Robinson from Robinson Nursery, was visiting, and I was telling him about one of our new pieces of equipment that was going to be a major saver for labor. It was going to up our production, lower our labor, and I was showing him the machine, and his response was, "You're basically doing lean." And my response to him was, "What are you talking about? What's lean?" And he explained lean to me, and he said, "I'm part of this group called the Oregon Lean Consortium with Rick and Liz Peters." And I said, "I haven't heard of either one." And within a week, we were in the Lean Consortium because the way he explained it, it made all the sense in the world that that was the direction we needed to go, because that was our intentions all along. If I was in one of my managers' minds, they were probably thinking, here we go again. John's got a big idea. Here we go again. And with my crew, I was like, no, I really mean it this time. Like, we're doing this. This is, I'm laying money out, and it's not just the fact that I put money into it. It's for the fact that the writing is so obvious on the wall that this is a massive way to stay competitive. It's a massive way to improve our processes. And it's a massive way to make the work easier, more efficient. And when you have less people every year to help you get your mission accomplished, you need to figure out how to do more with less. And this was the way it was going to happen.
I know my first reaction was, uh-oh, here goes something new and more work.
Absolutely. Your first reaction is, okay, is this going to be a lot more work? And then there's that fear of not knowing what exactly you're going to do when you first do it. And so you'll automatically try to protect yourself from the unknown, right? And so it's really important that you're open-minded when you start. Yeah. And if you're not, you'll see that. It'll make it harder. And it doesn't need to be hard.
Well, I was like wondering what was it, or when they talk about that, and I was like, wow, I don't know what it is. So I was kind of surprised, or wondering first what it is. And then when they start telling us about making the job easier and getting more product out without getting tired at the end of the day, so I was like, oh yes, we need that here.
So even while they were going, here we go again, I didn't waver one bit. I was very steadfast, saying, no, we are doing this. And then it was up to me to prove it. And the Kaizen events is where I developed the support. I definitely had to prove it. And once we proved it, that's what started getting people on board, because they liked what was happening.
No, I definitely think it was probably that first round where we saved the flats, right. Where we saved, I think it was about $30,000 in flat costs because they were getting broken. And so when you actually took a process that we were doing and broke it down into the steps, I guess we were so excited about how fast we were doing stuff that had never really looked at it and said, oh, but we're not being efficient.
It's costing us
more money in the end.
My own history in the company of doing what I say I'm going to do brought a lot of support naturally. When as a leader in the company, I've been known to make bigger moves that sometimes people go, oh, is this the best idea for us? But I've shown through my history that I'm taking everybody's best interest with these decisions, and I follow through with them. So people knew the follow through would be there. The outcome was still in question. Our first event, I believe, was processing cuttings in our greenhouses, which was something that we usually took about 6 weeks, 8 weeks to do. And so we went after that. It was about a 20-person crew job. It was slow. It created a ton of waste that we found out later. And so we went after that process first. And we, in one day's time, we eliminated $15,000 worth of broken plastic annually from the not breaking the flats in the process. So we saved $15,000 in plastic. We didn't have to replace it. We didn't have to throw it away. I want to say our reduction in labor for the process was probably somewhere around 35 to 40%, as I recall.
In the one process where we're actually going through and harvesting our cuttings, they were harvesting the cuttings first and then going back later and picking up the flats.
And in the process, when we went through the lean event, we discovered a way to get rid of that pumice out of the greenhouse, so it's not, you don't have to go back to clean it up. At the same time, you're not breaking flats. So overall, it was a very successful event, and we got more done. Than it didn't seem like we were working as hard. We thought our numbers would fall as far as what we achieved, but by the time we got to the end and totaled it all up, we saved all this money, and we didn't have to go back and figure out how to get the pumice and everything out of the greenhouses. And it worked pretty well. I think by that time, then we were pretty sold on what's the next event. We've got to figure this is really bugging me. How are we going to do this? And that's when it started to sink in for everybody, including the employees.
And what was even more interesting is the fact that we didn't stop there. We continued over the next couple years readdressing that same process, and we probably cut that production time down by 50%. And just by readdressing, because we still spent a lot of money even after we fixed it. So it was still suspect. And so we kept going after it. And every time we thought we were finished, we found out we could still improve. And now that process is 100% different than when we originally were doing it. And the changes were huge. We started compartmentalizing some of the processes. We used to have everybody go into the greenhouse and just start pulling cuttings out. We would walk across the top of our flats. We would break the flats into pieces by stepping on them. The material in the flats would go all over the floor, making our cleanup time much more extensive. So we would go in there and make a humongous mess, and we wouldn't come back to clean it up for probably 2 to 3 months. When we did come back to clean it up, it was because we were planting again, and we were literally emptying or cleaning up greenhouses and planting them the same day. We were literally chasing our tail, trying to keep up. By the time all 3 events were finished, which was over the course of a couple years, we went from sending a mass of people into the greenhouse, creating a humongous mess, to sending in 2 individuals at a time to the greenhouse, getting the product out of there, leaving almost 0 mess. And then we processed them in a central location with many, many adjustments to that location to increase the speed and efficiency. What was really amazing about that process as well, we eliminated a horrendous amount of lifting. We were able to trade off people, so not one person was doing all the heavy work. Our cleanup time went from I think it was 4 hours per greenhouse down to 20 minutes. And when you have 60 greenhouses to clean up, it was, I think, 400 hours of labor down to 25. So that's a huge savings in itself. And that was just a byproduct of our initial focus. We now process probably twice as many plants with half as many people. And so that's helped us maintain a competitive edge when all prices of labor, materials, everything's going up quicker than our own pricing. And that helps us remain competitive and keep a margin when we can't outpace or can't keep up with the pace of overhead. One of the biggest ways to get people on board was to make their job easier. And not only physically through lifting or handling material, making their job easier, because maybe it was a 10-step process that we turned into a 3-step process. We simplified their day. We simplified their job. We made their job easier. At the end of the day, maybe they're going home with a little more energy during harvest season or planting season when there's a lot of lifting. At the end of the day, maybe they had more energy, and it removed chaos from the day. You know, having a 10-step process turn into 3 or 4, it removes chaos. It simplifies, it makes things easier. Well, as I said, we have mental equity. We have mental wins when you're going home not mentally tired from just having an easier workday.
When we started the program, it was like, it's a waste of time. Maybe they're gonna. But the first fear is they're gonna take us away. You know, if they're gonna cut people, or they're gonna, you know. But no. As soon as we start seeing that's not happening. Instead of that, we're consolidating our crew. So at the end of the day, it works in their favor, because they whoever we send to do the job, they learn and they do it. And then at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it works. So it's more time for me to do some other things, like other things. So yeah, I think it works for that's how I can see that they like or they on board of the program, because we make the job easy from the beginning, from the bottom. So everybody is less stress, less job on their plate.
One of the things that I was quick to learn with Lean, through working with the consortium, the education that came along with it, with like our group discussions with books, was that everybody needs to be engaged for Lean to work, including top to bottom. And I needed to be 100% as behind it as my newest hire. I knew the only way to at least give everybody that opportunity was to give them the same education. And so I made it available to anyone in our company. I said, if you want to learn this, here's an opportunity. I will pay for your classes. I will pay for your time. We will have the days off so you can go to the classes, whatever we needed. I wanted everybody to have the same opportunity if we were all going to be viewed as equals when we are doing a Kaizen event, or we're just working as a team in general. There's no hierarchy when you're working as a team to accomplish a goal. And so I wanted to give everybody the same amount of opportunity. So I thought it was critical to have everybody educated.
Oh, the quicker you get on board and the more people you get on board to support it, the faster you're going to see some changes. And once you see the first change, and then, some of the naysayers, I don't know. By the second time, okay, now everybody's starting to get on board. They start to realize, what it's all about. And I wouldn't hesitate to put your whole crew through Lean training, not just your managers. You got to get everybody on board. Don't waste your time, just get it going. It's a one-time. If you can get them through at least the first class, you'll go a lot farther.
I agree with that. If you can get the buy-in of the crew, you're going to see your Lean journey go a lot farther than if it's just your upper management.
My form of management, I empower my managers to do their best job. I don't micromanage. I don't believe in it. And the best way to give someone power is to give them the educational tools. Teach them everything you know, but then give them the freedom and the ability to learn on their own. If you're micromanaging, they're waiting for you to educate them. But if you give them freedom to learn, they're going to seek it out on their own. With Carlos, I recognized him as a guy who was comfortable talking with me. He was one of our crew people at the time. And we had a good connection in conversation. And I asked him one day, I said, Carlos, we've been doing this for 9-12 months. Would you be interested in becoming the lean manager over time? And he said yes. Long story short, he said yes. And I said, this is going to take a while. I said, we're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. We're going to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But ultimately, this is your biggest opportunity to make progress in our company and to establish yourself as a long-term asset to JLPN. And he's done great. And it's definitely been an investment in his career, an investment in his education, and the return has been fantastic. He's wanted to seek it out. He wanted to learn. And so it's been very wonderful for both sides.
Because I thought it was just gonna make things easier, but no, it's a lot more. For me personally, it's also a lot more because I'm learning more by being in lean than just being a regular employee. I'm learning more about being responsible, do a good job for the company, and make sure my coworkers do a good job. And it's keeping me, in a good position here in the company. And I'm learning more, and I'm creating value for myself and for the company. So it's really good, and I'm learning, and I'm able to do things right for the company. And for me personally, I'm just learning a lot and being in a best position, in a good position, and I keep climbing.
Yeah, Carlos, I basically set this up as a position just the same as I'd say my production managers or my sales managers. He is the lean manager. I told him part of this, you are eventually going to be instructing people who tell you what we are doing on a day-to-day basis. There will be days where you're the student, there's going to be days where you're the teacher. I said you're going to have to get comfortable with that, because taking a guy that's crew level and saying, in a number of years, you're going to be giving direction for our managers, that's a big step. And so we talked about that, and Carlos, initially I drove the progress. I drove the educational side of things. I was the one that said, hey, we're gonna get everybody educated in the lean foundations. We're going to do this Kaizen. We're gonna look at these processes. At a certain point, and this was already pre-planned with Carlos, I said at a certain point, you're going to be telling me what's going on with lean at JLPN, because my ambition isn't to be the best at lean. My ambition is for you to be the best at lean. And I wanted to see his success with our company. And I figured the best way for him to have success is to be the leader ultimately. And I'm his biggest champion. I was looking for someone who could, first off, come in as close to being a neutral party in the company. Carlos was a 5-year employee at that point in time, and he was working with several people that had 20, 25 years, almost 30 years under their belt. So he was going to be a young guy in a very, should I say, salty work crew. And so I needed to find someone who was willing to educate himself to a point where he was going to be educating people who are, far, superior on the hierarchy scale, who had been here longer. But I also needed someone who was willing to learn more than anything. A willingness to learn, you can go a long ways. But someone who thinks they already have it all figured out, you're going to end up with roadblocks, problems, all kinds of difficulties. So Carlos showed a tremendous desire to learn, a tremendous desire to grow, I think just in his calm demeanor. And so that was a lot what stood out to me with Carlos. And he was comfortable communicating back and forth with me, even though we didn't have a long history or rapport, because I mostly worked with my managers and maybe my foreman at the time. Whereas now it's communicate more equally through the entire organization. That's something we learned going through the lean journey. This is what I would tell anybody going into lean. Just look at what you're spending the most money on in a year, period. That is the biggest opportunity for saving, period. If you're running a process and you have 20, 30 people on it, if you cut that in half and you're doing it for, say, half as long, you just save 75%. And a lot of people, and I will admit, when I saw the improvement numbers that other companies had made, I was like, oh, these numbers are these are made up. There's no way somebody saved 76% on a process. It's not possible. And how wrong I was when we started doing our own events. And we took one of our Kaizen events, we took our tree seedling grading, which was 36 people, maybe 40 people, and a 2.5, 3 month process to process all of our seedlings. We looked at that and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's $6,000 a day minimum that I'm spending. And so we went from 36 people down to 27 people. In that process, we increased our production by 40%. So we cut our labor down a ton. We increased our production a ton. It was just a massive win. Beyond that, we made the job much, much easier. We eliminated a ton of defects. Our quality of our grade became better. And we learned some major, major things about lean, such as faster doesn't always mean better or quicker or more production. Sometimes you slow a process down and you end up with far better results than going fast. It doesn't make any sense, but we've proved it over and over to the point it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you realize how much money you wasted, how much time and resources you wasted over decades that could have been saved, but we thought we were doing it the best way at that point, and how wrong we were and how much we found out we could learn. So go after the big numbers. Where are you spending the most money? That's your first target, and that's where you're going to make the biggest wins quickly. It will show your people that lean works, and that's where the sport comes in.
And like right now we're shipping. And so if we wouldn't have done that process, we would have been taking, say, the whole crew and going over and doing something where now it's just become another factor. A part of the crew has to go do that. And so now we're being able to do multiple things at a time versus it used to be, no, we're only planting today, or no, we're only shipping today.
Right, and it's
Right.
not immediately obvious a lot of times, because you'll send that crew that now you've done lean and everybody's educated on how we're going to do it, what it's set up like, and then you can say, go load this truck, the truck's here. You don't have to go out there and stand over them and set it up and all that, because they already know. They know the process and how we're going to do it, and everyone knows. It keeps everything on track. You're not having to constantly communicate with individual people, and so it's a lot easier if you have that structure in place, and that's what lean gives you. Now you can just give an order and it goes. So it's pretty handy that way, unless you like to repeat yourself. If you like to talk and repeat yourself, then you probably don't like lean.
We do a lot of processing on conveyor belts, which are not considered to be the most lean thing ultimately, but it's much more efficient than processing trees on a table. Well, when you think, how can you get more done in a day on a conveyor belt? You have a couple of options. You have add more people, whether it's put more product on the belt, more people to process it, add more staff. That's how you're going to do more in a day. Or you can speed up the belt, make it go faster. And if you've ever stared at a conveyor belt for 8-9 hours, when that stops, you about want to fall over the direction of the belt because the room's spinning. So that's miserable. People make mistakes at that point. But to speed it up, we always figured add more people or speed up the speed of the process, the speed of the belt, throw them down faster. So ultimately what we did, we said, you know what, maybe we need to have more time to look at the trees. And so we slowed the belt down about 50%. And we timed it. We said, let's take times, see how much we can get processed in an allotted amount of time. And the numbers are going to speak for themselves. We slowed the belt down. We were actually able to put down more trees on the belt because it wasn't moving away from us as fast. So the trees were stacked probably twice as close together. But when they were going by the grader, they were moving so slow they could sit and grab and grab and grab. So we were processing far more. That's where the 40% came in. But to add to that, they were looking at the seedling for longer as it was going by. So maybe one that had a bad root or a bad top on it, it didn't get missed. It was spotted. They didn't pick it up and put it in their bundle. So therefore, we eliminated waste. We eliminated defects. We had less bad seedlings going into the bundle. So we improved the quality of our product we were shipping out, which is a huge thing because it's adding value to our product when we ship 1,000 trees and they get 1,000 good trees, not 850 or 950. So we improved the product. We slowed it down. We made it easier on the workers. Our production went up and our quality went up by slowing down and doing the opposite of what we thought would do to increase our speed of production. It makes no sense, but the numbers prove it.
One of the things that surprised me was the 5S. Doing that at the end of the week and having everything back in order, how much time that saves you. I felt like I was wasting time and hours setting everything back up, making sure everything was in place. And at the end of the week, you pencil it out. No one was searching for anything. Everything's in place. Everybody knows where everything's at, and they don't waste any time. And when you times that by a crew of 20 people, think of the amount of minutes you save. And you're paying most of these people by the hour, so it just saved us a lot of money in the end. Even though you feel like you're taking 2 hours of wasted time on a Friday that you could be doing something else, you're actually saving yourself who knows how many hours throughout the week. So that was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't realize just how big of a thing that was.
This is the best part that we took from Lean. To backtrack a little bit, the market's been going strong for quite a few years, since about 2012 for us. So the problem is our demand was going up for our product, but access to employees, as in most nurseries, is becoming less and less, considerably less. And so we needed to make more plants. We didn't have more people to do it. Being able to process trees faster with less people, plant trees faster with less people, it's actually solidified jobs versus taken jobs away. Largely because our growth has allowed us, we need just as many people, but we need to produce 50% more plants than we did 10 years ago. So if anything, Lean has created job security for our crew because they're not as replaceable as they once were, because now they're an asset. They're an educated asset to our company. And so number one, we wouldn't want them to go away. And since we're always trying to do more with less, Lean is how we're able to make that happen. So it's never once eliminated a job. It's put people in different places. Maybe we've eliminated processes, but that frees us up to go plant more trees, grade more trees. It frees us up to grow, if anything. It's never once taken a job.
We can start by learning how we're doing the process. Well, we do the process, we documented it, and then we see all the waste in it. So as a group, we try to eliminate all those waste. Then we start the new standard work, and I ask people around their positions and how they do their job, and make suggestions. And the first thing I do normally by myself, for me, is when I'm talking to somebody, and if that's their position, I ask, well, this is how you do it, and you like it, and they're, yeah, I like it this way, and I don't like this too much. Well, sorry, we can change that for you to make it better. And then I say, well, after this, anybody else that works doing this position is gonna do it like you. So it's gonna look better. It's gonna look good because you're making the foundation, and they're like, oh really? Oh well, okay, that's good. That's good. So that I bring that to the after all that happening, and I got all the info. So I go to the computer and enter everything, and because I like to do like visuals, so I make a lot of colors and so to make it look good. Then I present it to them, and they like it, and that's how we keep it. Then I added pictures of the crew doing the job or the areas or the equipment, and then I put them in there and make it as big as I possible can, like 2 by 2 feet. And then that's how the standard works end up at the end of the day. And I think I have good results from it. It works. So for example, we get a new people or we start a new process, and then we hire people. Then we show them standard work, and we read it to them, and then they start doing the job, and they see the people the work not like seasonal, like regular with the new seasonal people, and the job gets done just like if it was all normal regular.
We went from being awesome to realizing, no, there's a ton of room to improve, and we did. And then we did it a second time, and then we did it a third time. And we would literally be in the dark ages if we hadn't done those Kaizen events, because my own managers have said we would not be able to do this anymore if we were using the amount of labor we did in the past. We would be irrelevant on the market. So that was a huge success. Now my table or my conveyor belt grading was also a big success. And the comment that will forever stick in my mind that we've succeeded with lean. We are succeeding. When we realized by slowing down the belt and doing all these other things, and we increased our production 40% with less people, and 25% less people, 40% more production. At the end of the day, when everybody was just laughing about the numbers as a group with the consortium, because we were all there, multiple companies, we were all there, and we're all celebrating our success. One of my production managers was laughing, and he was one who said, oh gosh, John, when we first started, when I said we're going to do lean, he is sitting there going, yeah, okay, John. He came up and he patted me on the shoulder laughing about the numbers. He goes, and that's why you're our leader. And that's when I was like, we're there. We're succeeding. We're on our way to success. And so that Kaizen was so important because it showed everybody there's a reason why we're doing this, and it works, and it's highly effective. So that was when I knew we're here. We're doing this. So both of those are very important to me.
I think the biggest thing you could take away is keeping an open mind, because at a lot of the Kaizens and stuff that we've been to, I've seen quite a few times that initial person that puts up the wall. No, my way's already the best. They feel like they're being judged. And if you can go into it as an open mind, not that we're judging you, that we're trying to help you make something better, I think that's critical.
It's continuous improvement, so you're never going to be there. You're never going to get to the end and say, we're here. When you think you're there, you're not. You got a long ways to go. You will never stop. That's why it's called continuous, not eventual.
When you get a group of colleagues together and look at a process and listen to everybody's view on that process, or how they break it down, or how they would like to improve it with no judgment, that's a big win. And then you realize how many ideas really are out there for something, whatever that something is, even though maybe in your mind, well, there's only one way to do it. Well, that's not true. Opening that thought process up is a big one for me.
The biggest thing is we have subscription through our entire organization. Our employees have seen lean pay off both in our production. They've seen it pay off in a physical sense, a mental savings that we have from eliminating chaos in our organization by streamlining things. We've seen financial success because we're able to have better profit in our companies, so we're able to give out better wage, better bonuses. That makes us more competitive on the market as far as the quality of employees we get. People don't want someone working next to them that's not going to be on board. It's going to impact them financially. It's going to impact their day. We have good days here at JLPN, and so our lean journey has got us that far. I don't know where we're going to end up. It's always it's the $1,000,000 question. But we are definitely active with lean. Everybody sees it pay off every single year, and so that keeps everybody motivated highly.
Well, I know that this program works because it makes it easier for everybody. I think it's a good program to participate. It might seem slow at the beginning, but then you're going to see results almost immediately after you start. It's kind of slow, but as soon as the people learn, because the people needs to learn all these, the basics of the lean program, and I think starting from there is going to make it easier for everybody. People taking care, when we're in the program, people start taking more care of their work area, of their equipment, and people feel like having a good equipment makes our job easier, and making our job easier makes the company having more product to sell. And if we eliminate all the waste from the beginning, the company is always going to have more win at the end of the day. So everybody wins at the end, because as long as we start doing the program correctly and applying everything like it should be, it's going to be really good at the end.
I've always valued our employees highly. And when I heard the concept of people are your greatest asset, your people are your greatest asset, I realized the true value of that with lean. As we started becoming more educated, lean became more a natural thing. It became what we did versus something we do. Our employees, some people were really actively aggressive about it, and they would seek out things that were lean. I would get videos from my employees, hey John, look what I did. They would reconvert a system, and all of a sudden something that was right in front of us forever, like the use of a belt or the use of some simple automation, they took a process that maybe we spent 1,000 hours a year on, and just in 30 minutes they shaved off 200 hours because they were looking through lean eyes. They were thinking lean, like, how can I make this easier? And so they would do something that would completely eliminate lifting, and they wanted to show it off to me because they know those are the things I reward for. I reward for people's engagement. And so it's just great seeing that happen in the company.
Fun little story. Having done some lean at where I was employed prior, we were constantly missing all the tools. We could not keep track of tools. No one was stealing them, but when it's hard to find tools, people start to tuck them away to where they know where they're at because they need them. Well, then when you go and you look and then you can't find the tool yourself and you don't know who to ask, because we have quite a few employees. So I made a board, just like, remember Dad used to draw around these tools and I put those up there, and then I put little pictures of them with a hook. And so if they borrowed a tool or took a tool, they could leave their tag. When no one's on board, that doesn't work. I felt like I could browbeat them into doing, just out of fear, bringing everything back and putting it away. Well, sooner or later, you're busy. You don't have time for that. And then a month goes by, and you step back there, and what happened? And now you're mad, right? But you want a positive workplace. So do you want to go out there and yell at everybody, where is this, where is that? You want to stop work, bring everybody in there for a meeting, where's this, who has this? Have you ever done that to your kids? No one touched it. So you don't want to do that. You're not a parent, you're an employer. So the quicker you can get everybody on board, when you lean something out, you'll start finding that everything's returned, everybody's happy that it's there, and they realize why, that it's such a big deal to take care of the work area, and it goes on down the line to every project you're doing. So all of a sudden it just makes sense to everybody.
If I were to do anything different, I would be more aware of backsliding than I was. I knew that backsliding was going to be my biggest challenge from the very start. It happens most often when you're the busiest, which in our organization, it seems like you never run out of stuff to do. So the backsliding happens a lot when you get busiest. I wish I would have been more aware of preventing that. But I also feel like we did so many things correctly. I wouldn't change it at all for the fact that I'm so happy and proud of where our people are, where our company is because of Lean. So one way or another, we've got on the right path. I think one of the largest Lean principles people need to understand is waste is everywhere. When you think you have it figured out, you don't. There's always a way to improve. And that's why I would go back to the reason we did the same event 3 times. Because the first time we thought we had just done fantastic, saved thousands of dollars on the process. And then we did it again. And then we did it one more time. So waste is everywhere, and continuous improvement is just that. You can always improve. One of the other things I think is critical is without leadership, you will fail. We've been in the consortium for 5-6 years. We've seen companies come and go. We've seen companies be successful, hugely successful. We've seen other companies create huge success and then go straight back to the way they did it anyways, because leadership wasn't there. Leadership wasn't making sure, hey, let's stay on course. Too many companies say, we're gonna do this. They wanna say they're doing it. And I'm not saying, we have a ton of improvement to do ourselves still, but I'm always there to champion my employees, to champion for Carlos, be his supporter, be there for critical thinking. Anything they need, I always tell them I'm always available. And they, with having the security that they can always come to me when there's any roadblocks, any challenges, any questions, it creates a lot more unity, a level of comfort knowing I'm here to help solve problems. I'm not here to point out wrongdoing. So the leadership, the approach, it's very critical in being successful with Lean. I think mindset and communication is a very, very critical thing with Lean. With Lean, you have to realize that you're always addressing a situation, you're addressing a process, a problem. You're never addressing the person. We are all here, we're here as a team, and we are here to be successful together. Being successful in a company with Lean, it translates to people's personal success in the company. It translates to the business's overall success. It translates into people's financial success. A strong company is able to reward their employees for doing a good job a lot easier than a company that's fractured, that's segregated, that's compartmentalized. This is our side, that's your side. When you get on board with Lean, the communication teaches you, you all have to be on board, and we all have to be on board for everybody's gain. Lean is an action. Lean is a thought process, it's a mentality. And once you get that into your organization, you get that mentality into your people, your management, you will find your company is much more effective in their day-to-day processes. You will find that you're constantly improving on things you thought you had already finished or fixed. You will find your company, your people communicate better because you have to. It's a natural byproduct of being successful in Lean. Communication just happens better because you have to have a more cohesive team, more open-minded, more willingness to be humble, to look at a process the way someone else is saying, I think this is right. Well, with lean, you try it out and you see if it's right versus arguing opinion. JLPN would not be financially relevant in the market today if we were not in the lean program. The lean consortium, we owed tons of credit to the lean consortium. We have eliminated so much waste in our organization that elimination of waste has been one of our effective tools, our effective weapons for combating ever-rising costs and overhead, labor, fuel, plastic, fertilizer, any material we use. It goes up so fast. The only way we can be competitive is to do more with less. I've heard it from my managers several times. If we were still doing it the way we were doing it 12 years ago, we would not be relevant. Lean, it brings your people together. It brings awareness of your processes. It brings team. It brings success. And that's what I think is so critical when your employees are feeling success happening because of their doing, not just because you told them to do something and it worked. They are seeking out their own personal wins for the team, and we all get to celebrate those. We all benefit from it. So I think lean is very critical for bringing your community together in your company and building your communication through your organization. When you engage in any process for a long period of time, it's natural to become complacent or to get easily distracted after a while because you're doing something for a long period of time, and after a while something else, anything else, just seems more interesting, or you just become preoccupied with being busy. You have to know that they're going to happen. It's, I think a natural part of lean or any other thing that you do for a long period of time. If you're a runner, there's going to be periods where like, I just don't feel like running. I'm just going to take a little break. And then it's hard to get going again. I think as a leader, it's critical that you have the sight, the vision to spot those lulls. And even as a leader myself, I've fallen into those times where I'm like, I think we're good. We're doing lean, sure, it's over there. But in reality, we had gone stagnant. We had maybe done a little backsliding, which is just terrible. But it happens, and you have to be willing and accepting that there are going to be those times. And then you need to know how to regroup, address your crew, your people, and say, hey, we need to do a restart, and we need to do it now because here's where we are. With lean and having the good communication, where people used to go, oh, you're being critical of my job. They go, oh, that's right, we are backsliding. And that's the reaction we had with everybody when I said, well, we're going stagnant. Nobody took it as an attack or criticism. They took it as oh my gosh, that's right, we do need to get going because we know how effective we are when we're on. And we know how bad things can get when we're off. And we don't want to lose the progress and the gains we've made, both in production, but also in our mind frame. We don't want to lose that lean mentality, because losing your lean mentality is just as costly, if not more costly, than losing a lean process. You can always change the process by a couple of clicks of the buttons, but to change a mentality takes much, much longer. There's those times where somebody calls me on the phone or sends me an email, come on, John. And I'm like, you can only hide behind your computer screen so long before you have to respond to Liz. And so it's always nice to have somebody there to drive, to motivate you, especially when you do backslide or get complacent. Working with the Peters Company, it's great to have that motivation. It's great it's a great feeling to have someone celebrate your success with you. our company is always trying to work on continuous improvement. We're always trying to come up with better ways to serve our customers. And I feel the Peters company is excelling in that quicker than we are ourselves. I feel that the Peters company is always trying to be innovative. They're always trying to create value for their customer, which, hey, if we're learning lean and we're trying to create value, well, you better walk the walk again, because the Peters company is always trying to create value. Before COVID and the pandemic and all that, everything was in-person learning. Then all of a sudden we had the pandemic. What do? We can't be around each other. We need to do Kaizens. We need to do something. We need to deliver value in an environment where we're traditionally face-to-face, and now we're not. How do we create value when we can't even be in the same room together? Peters company found a way to create value even during those times, and be innovative, creative, come up with new ways to create value for their customers. And it was largely felt. It wasn't like there were simple things that are like, oh, this is a nice idea. We did things as a group together that were amazing. Things that I've come to personally enjoy much more than the initial lean process itself, because it's evolving, it's interesting, it's thought-provoking, and we're constantly learning new things as well. And so the Peters company's really delivered the value to us, to the point I told Liz, I told you and Rick yourselves probably 3-4 years ago, I will never stop. Because when I stop, I can guarantee myself backsliding. I can guarantee we will become complacent. And I know as long as we're on board with you, the return on our investment is so huge compared to any cost, within reason. But no, but working with Peters company, it's been a fantastic experience, and you guys are great people to work with, and I always enjoy anytime we get together, whether it's on phone, Zoom, or in person. It's just really nice. We learn together, we succeed together.
Please have a listen for our next interview with Dave Van Belle from Belle Nurseries. Hello, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to Dave Van Belle. He is the president of Belle Nursery. Good afternoon, Dave.
Good afternoon, Janine. Welcome to you all.
Thank you for joining us and doing this video with us. So we have a lot of questions for you today that we'll try to squeeze into a short amount of time, as I know how busy you are already. So perhaps we can just get started with some of those initial questions we talked about earlier. So what got you started in lean management and the whole concept behind waste or Kaizen? I'm not sure where you started. So maybe you can just tell us quickly how that began.
Sure. I've always been interested in how to improve our company and how to grow better. And so one day I was reading an article in Grower Talks magazine about Kerry Herndon, who owned Kerry's Bromeliads down in Florida. And he was sharing in his article about how his company had achieved dramatic improvements and results by using lean processes. And I had already been reading about lean through different areas, Edwards Deming and all kinds of stuff about lean, the goal from Goldratt and so on, the authors. And I thought, I'm going to explore that a little bit more. So I picked up more books, read more about it. And in that article that Kerry wrote, he referenced Gary Cortez from Flow Vision. So I just phoned up Gary. I said, hey, Gary, what do you think? What do you do? And so him and I struck up a relationship, and we took it from there. So the thing I liked about the lean part in general is that it really fits with our philosophy of teaching people. And that's kind of where my heart is too. I'd like to have a business and grow it. But really, my heart is to how do we grow a team? How do we grow people? How do we build into people that they can grow? And so lean philosophy really fits well with that. And the trick is that it allows for greater training, greater flexibility. It allows you to question why you're doing things, systemizes your processes so that you can actually grow. Because if you don't do the same thing over and over, you can't really improve the process. Like if you don't have a repeatable process, you cannot improve it. So lean, it gave us the discipline to actually document our processes, to give us a basis so we can improve. And that made everybody happy. So it worked out nice in our company. And that's kind of why I just like the whole philosophy of lean and just a real basic kernel of how I got into it.
Okay. So what stage are you at now? Is it a continuum? Is it something that did you start in certain areas of the business and you've expanded it and completed all functions?
Yeah.
Was it a whole nursery, whole systems approach to start? Like, how does that work?
Well, I regret to say that it's not everywhere in our company at all the time top of mind. It's just not. It kind of comes in waves a little bit too. How we started with Gary is it was kind of an interesting story. So I think Gary is going to be speaking with this group later on too, or maybe he has already. He came to our nursery and he took his notepad out and he walked around for 2 days and all he did was ask me questions. And just that simple process of asking questions made me also question, what are we doing? Like, even that alone, just having that discipline just to look around with new eyes gave me hope, right? So then what we decided with Gary is instead of looking at how to improve one little piece of a process, we decided to look at the whole process. And in our case, it was from propagation to shipping.
Okay.
And the reason why we looked at it holistically is because we did not want to improve one little piece that perhaps maybe we didn't need that piece. So don't improve a piece that you don't actually need. Look at the whole process first. So we started with shipping or propagation right through shipping on our young plants. And we've got some dramatic improvements out of that. And it was kind of a good way to start too. And so one of the challenges of lean, which if anybody in Ontario or anywhere else who would like to start with lean and you haven't started now and you want to start, one of the key things is to have the right mindset. And that's probably the biggest thing that anyone will face. And that's the idea of teaching people can learn and grow. And many things with lean is very counterintuitive. So we were doing things, for example, we were making boxes, a small little example, making boxes. Hey, some of the people are not busy right now. We know we need more boxes tomorrow. Make boxes. Well, kind of makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. It's working ahead. Working ahead is a form of waste, and lean, that's not good. So some of our habits were poor. And so so I knew this was going to happen, right? And Gary warned me about that. He's very, very good with people. And so what we did is we actually said, okay, to the whole company, we're going to shut our company down for a whole week. And we put everybody, and you don't have to do this, but it was really, really beneficial for us. Wow. We put everybody in a school room, so to speak, and we had 4 and 5 days actually of classes that Gary taught. Wow. And it was eye-opening. It was dramatic. And it was also in the back of my mind, the other reason why I said to do that, and it was expensive, but it's a culture building piece, right?
That's right.
Because lean is a culture. The idea of continuous improvement, the idea of not being satisfied with where things are at, the idea of, hey, it's not personal, we're going to change things, but based on math, not on opinion, which is where people go wrong. It's a culture piece. So we had everybody in our class for a whole week. Gary taught it, and it was a lot of fun. We laughed, we cried, we sang, we did everything, and it was good.
But everybody needs to be on the same page, is what you're saying. You all need to understand where it's coming from, and obviously it's being led by the ownership.
Yep. I honestly believe that if it's not led by someone who has the authority to say yes to the process, your chance of success is half.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, soon after we start implementing, when the rubber hits the road, there are some uncomfortable decisions to be made at points. Like, no, I think we should do it this way. And someone else, no, I think we should do it that way. And it's all opinion. Well, what about the math? Now the math is wrong. Okay, well, people can get up in arms. And we actually had some people leave on account of it. Right. Because the other thing about lean, which I really like, now this is just broad philosophy too, but the thing about lean is what you're training people to work up a position and down a position, flexing. So you don't need to actually supervise near so much.
Oh.
So supervisors are the people who will feel threatened by this whole process if they don't have a growth mindset. And that's why it's important to bring everybody involved, bringing them all in the beginning to get them involved so they can buy in. Know that lean is not a program to reduce headcount, but it is to improve efficiency.
Right. Hopefully it means improved productivity, not necessarily less staff numbers.
Yep, absolutely. And I think in our experience, we've never laid off people because we got so much more efficient. We just grew our business. And I think probably Flow Vision in this case, that's the consultant who I think that's what he would say too. So supervisors going in though, supervisors and managers are the most at-risk people for a company owner to say, keep my eye on them, because they are going to feel the most threatened. They don't need to feel threatened, and they shouldn't feel threatened, but we're human.
But it could happen. Yeah.
It can happen, right? And so then people who do feel threatened and should feel threatened and worried are the people who are worried about giving up control. So if you're a type of a supervisor or a manager who likes to micromanage and tell everybody, okay, now you put your left foot forward. Oh, now you're right one. Now do it again. And everything is micromanaged right down to the hilt. It isn't going to work for you. So if you're thinking about implementing lean, if you're listening to this and you think I've got a manager who can't bear to give up control, I would say give them a chance. But expect that there might be some turnover, because you have to have a mindset of allowing people to flourish and grow and make mistakes, because guess what? We all do. I make mistakes every day, and I tell people, if you don't make a mistake, you're not trying hard enough. So
they may do better in an environment where that micromanaging works for them. So,
but
it's not going to work within lean, essentially.
Lean. Yeah, because lean, and then the other beautiful thing about lean, which is, I love it, is you can walk into the greenhouse, let's say, and you can look at the scoreboard, and right away you know what the score is. It's like in a hockey game. So you walk in, you look up, you know the visiting team is winning or losing, and you don't need to ask somebody or have someone tell you or have a report or have a meeting. You just know, and everybody knows. And the thing is, everybody likes to play games and win, right? So why not have a game? Why not make a game out of the whole thing? We also do open up management at our company, which fits well with lean, because we try to gamify a lot of things. So here's our target. If we do better, let's have donuts or a pizza party or something silly, a boss's bet. It doesn't matter what, right? It's all about building the culture.
That's right.
So we have a lot of fun with it, I think, and lean's a really, really good thing. It's just on a real practical level. I mean, I can't endorse it enough. I don't think we would be around if we didn't have it. And in Canada, Ontario is leading the charge. BC is not far behind. Our labor costs are crazy.
Yeah.
Our government's not helping us. And I hope there's no government people listening in, but if they are, the bureaucracy is not helping us.
Right.
So we have to get more efficient.
Right. And you're mainly a container production, right? I don't know if you have, you've obviously got Gutter Connect greenhouse, but do you have any field production?
We have no field production. So we have a couple different business units. So one of it's young plants. We supply young plant starter liners all over North America. And we also have our finished plant unit. So we are also growers, where we grow, wands, 2s, 5 gallons, trees, annuals, perennials, shrubs. And we supply that to box stores, mostly in Western Canada. Okay. But the thing is, with lean, it can fit anywhere. You can apply a lean to the office. You can apply a lean to your accounts receivable. You can apply a lean to any. If you have a process, you can apply lean.
All right. I guess I'm just getting at, is there areas where it's could be more successful or more likely to produce results that you're looking for? But what I'm hearing is maybe not.
Well, what we start with, and this is and I just learned this from Gary, so I'm not a genius. I just heard this from Gary, and Gary says, Dave, let's focus on areas that give you at least a 30% return within the year. So if you can't get a 30% improvement payback right away, let's not do that area. So back to your question, it's a little bit like, let's start with the areas that give us the greatest potential payback. So if you have 100 people potting by hand, maybe that's a good area to start with.
That's
versus, one clerk maybe doing accounting or something. It's all, every business is different. And so what's your problem area? What's the area you most need to improve? That's where you could start.
Okay. That's great.
So,
I guess, have you seen some particular challenges or areas where you'd hoped for different, or it was unexpected, the kinds of results you got?
You know what, I'd say I really have nothing but good things to say. We've got terrific results. And the people that come up with the solutions are ingenious. Honestly, Janine, I'm amazed probably every single week by someone's creativity in the company about, wow, that's a really cool solution that, like, what people come up with is amazing. And I feel very blessed, and all I have to do really is stand back and cheerlead. The problems, the areas where I wish it would have gone differently it's all around people again still. People who I wish they could have adapted or seen beyond next week. It's going to work out really well, or this isn't the right way to do it. We got to do it like we should do it based on math this way. And the philosophy of lean, and I want to control. And I wish people would sometimes, We don't have any of those people now because anybody we've been doing this
That's
for
the
15
growing
years.
pains from the sound of it. And
That's the initial, yeah. Once you bring people
transition.
on, when you bring them on, they're starting with lean, so it's not such a big problem, right?
That's right.
Maybe, Janine, another struggle that we've had that other people might face also is just the continual maintenance of momentum. So we kind of go a little bit in fits and spurts on lean, and
I think that might be natural.
it's natural. It's hard to maintain and sustain, right? But the
Interesting.
nice thing about if we sit, like you see my screen right behind me, we systemize how we do many things. So as long as we stick to our system, we're really good. Our intentional focus areas, we call them mini games right now, which is also maybe a small way of saying an improvement area. But yeah, we do focus on improvements, and maybe and I've often thought, man, I should actually just hire Gary permanently, just be here, and he could walk around, and it would be so much easier. Like everything would be so much nicer. And it doesn't really work quite that way, but I've kind of got it in our budget. Every year we do some consulting, and so I'm trying to do an expansion this year too. This picture behind me, that whole warehouse, when we decided to build it, I brought Gary in, for example, to help us lay it out.
I see.
And as a result of that, we changed some of the dimensions, and it's been working really, really well. So it's worth it to spend the money up front. So differently is, I kind of wish I could have the personal discipline to help maintain and sustain continual improvement as opposed to, starts and stops.
Yeah. Okay. But you aren't a lean management driven company in one aspect, right? You have other aspects. It's a live industry, and there are other things that happen. So it's understandable, but that's really interesting. I think I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I think if there's advice maybe you could give, you've given, I think, some really good starting points. Is there a place that you would recommend others to start, to follow, to look into it, to investigate like you did, or any particular approaches that you might take when you're thinking about whether you're maybe a small farm versus a larger farm?
Well, I think it works for any size farm. And in some ways, if you're a smaller business, a smaller farm, it can actually work more easily because you have less people to deal with. Change management is more simple when you're smaller. Of course, when you're bigger, you have more resources, but more people to deal with. It's all about the people. It's always the people. So if I had any advice for anybody, I would say do your research. So just read a couple books. Read The Goal from Goldratt. Read about Deming. Read The Toyota Way.
Yeah.
There's the 3 books right off the bat. You can just Google lean books, right?
I was just talking to Elizabeth and Rick from Peters Co. in Oregon. So they do consulting as well. And they said, that the Toyota way is creativity, then capital, right?
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's a really interesting way of thinking about it. So just they base it on that Toyota premise.
Yeah. So get educated. Then I would do some research into consultants too. I've been at conferences where other lean consultants have been there, and I didn't like their approach because they said, hey, we'll really come in and do a Kaizen for this one area of your company, and then maybe we don't need, maybe that's not maybe we don't need that step even. Like they're not looking at the whole process. So I don't know. I had a relationship with Flow Vision. I like Flow Vision. I don't get paid by Flow Vision, but I believe in them and I promote them because I think they're good. It kind of hurts me to promote them because then they're not as available for me necessarily, but
they definitely sounds like the approach has really worked at your farm.
Yeah, I like their philosophy. I think it makes good sense. It's looking at the whole picture. So the other thing I would do, I don't know, I've seen other people do, and I think it's a mistake, but is if they try to do lean kind of just piecemeal, you got to kind of jump in.
It's a both feet jump off the cliff sort of thing.
Yeah, go for it. Because I've seen other nurseries in our industry say, "Oh, I'm going to do a lean implementation," and they kind of read a book and they kind of do it on their own. And it's hard. It's so hard. You need somebody who's been there before, just help you get through there a little bit. And it's going to cost a bit of money maybe, but like Gary said, in our case anyway, we get the money back every year. So I don't get 100% return on my stock market portfolio, which is very small, but who does, right? But if you can invest $1 and save it right away the first year, and then after that you get all those savings, that's a good return on an investment.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And then lastly, I would say just ask yourself, search your heart, Janine, search your heart, everybody, because really, do you really want to do this route? Because it's not easy, because you have to let people make decisions and not just and you just can't control. You just can't. If you want to be controlling it, that's fine. But then you've got a lifestyle business. So that's fine. But if you want to grow your business, want to scale your business, and other people do more, you have to give up control. But you have to trust the process, I guess. So you just really got to just be sure of it, because if you start the journey and then you think, I don't like it, well, you're going to hurt yourself, and you're better off just don't start it. That's fine too.
That's really good advice.
You don't have to do this. So
No, you don't, right? We're just looking at, this is one of the ways that you can look at mitigating labor impacts, right? So,
Yep.
And we've certainly all been challenged with that, not just because of COVID, but for as our sector as a whole, we have a heavy reliance on temporary foreign workers, and
absolutely.
and so we do need to think about all of the aspects, right? Whether it be equipment or automation or a way of thinking. So it's,
and lean is not necessarily more machines either. Lean doesn't necessarily mean we actually just ripped out all of our conveyor belts and everything else we had for our young plant shipping. We spent $250,000 on that. It's gone. We don't do that anymore. It's like, man, and we shrunk our space. It's easier.
It's probably saved money that offset that. So it's that.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine at the time, but we kept on improving it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We've got guys who, we're all facing this COVID problem with labor and people, and they need to get paid more. And we got to be more productive. So I find lean. So final little story. So
please.
The picture behind you there is our warehouse in May when we're shipping. My 8-year-old son, who was 7 at the time, he was in the greenhouse last spring, loading racks, putting them in the right spot, because he can read numbers. And this rack, this number, that spot, push it there. Like, we can bring people in very quickly to train and grow, so that your whole special knowledge is reduced. So more people can participate in your company more easily. So you can onboard more people more easily, which is a huge
really
benefit.
Interesting. I never even thought about that aspect. So that's great that you bring that up.
Yeah.
All right.
So my 7-year-old boy can start shipping. All my kids are shipping. My nephews and nieces, and they're all 15 and under, and they're putting out just as much plants, and they're scanning racks, and they're loading and walking, and they're doing it. Well, if they can do it, anybody can.
Then you can bring somebody in a short-term situation and get them involved and keep things moving. That's really critical.
Very quickly. Yep.
All right.
It's all visual, right? So it works.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know this is a crazy time of year. It's a busy March coming right around the corner. So
yeah, and I'd like to wish all the farms in Ontario, hey, we're all in the agriculture business together. Wish you all the very, very best too, and have a great season. Consider lean. It's a really good program. Just know what you're doing and you'll do well.
All right. Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Thank you too.